What to say on the first date? How much do you actually reveal about yourself, about your values, about what's important to you, about your past, about where you want to go, what your ideals are, your dreams are? How much do we actually share about ourselves? This is a question we often ask ourselves when we're meeting new people. Do I share that I had a rough upbringing? Do I talk about my relationship with my father or my mother? Do I speak to the abuse that I received when I was younger? When is the appropriate time to speak to heavy stuff and light stuff and all of that? How much do I reveal? Often I think, when I'm working with clients, I have this, we want this checklist, like there's 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 items that are really important to us. And on the first date, we just want to give it to them. And we want to give it to them so they see everything that we know about ourselves, everything that we are. But why do we want to do that? Well, there's a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is that we almost don't want to, quote unquote, waste our time. Because if they know everything about us, if they understand who we are, if they know what's important to us, if our values align, if we're connected in that way, then we don't have to waste our time. But there's something that we miss by getting to know each other at a slower pace. There's something that happens that, here's the thing. Let's say you want to dig a 10-foot hole. The first foot is just as important as the 10th foot. To get to that depth of 10 feet, we have to go through the first foot. And the first foot can be that superficial conversation. Superficial doesn't mean bad or good, right? It just means it's how we begin to identify with, is there a match here at a gross level? Is there a match here at a bigger level, right? Bigger not meaning deeper. Bigger meaning just the basics. Okay, you like to have dinner, I like to have dinner, great. You grew up in this area, I grew up in this area. Because then there's a cultural relevance. Sometimes we're getting to know each other. Sometimes though, we want to rush the getting to know each other process so we don't waste our time, but also so we don't feel rejected. So we don't feel that as we're deepening our commitment to this person, as we're deepening our attention, the attention that we're giving them because we're investing our energy, our time, our emotions, that as we begin to reveal more about ourselves, we don't get hurt by them potentially rejecting that. And so there's this anxiousness or anxiety often, instead of taking the smooth course, going through just understanding each other at a slower pace, getting to know who we are, we want to rush it. Again, there's this fear of rejection. There's this fear of being seen. Is this person going to like me? Then we start thinking, what about sexual intimacy? Is our sex going to match? Are we going to be compatible? If he or she don't like this thing that is a non-negotiable for me, like for example, I have so many female clients, they come to me and they say that a non-negotiable for them is personal growth, quote unquote, doing the work, being willing to expand and open. And men, of course, is very important for men as well. So the majority of my female clients will say that it's very important to them. What if he's not into personal growth? I had a client that mentioned that she was excited. She just met a new person and they've been dating for a few weeks. And she started, they were having a conversation at his place. And the conversation was around parents and around her parental dynamics and his parental dynamics. And she started to get a little excited and also nervous because it was an opportunity to deepen that understanding. Well, what was his relationship with his father and his mother? And he touched on a little bit, and then he was preparing dinner because he invited her to his house, and he got distracted, and she was reflecting on that, and she was disappointed that they didn't go deeper. And what does that mean? Should I bring it up? Should I be more detailed? Should I ask more questions? And I told her to take a breath. How has she done things in the past? Where is the yearning to know this right here and right now? Where's it coming from? Where's it really coming from? What's the insecurity? What's the fear? What's the voice inside your head, and whose voice is it? See, these are important questions to ask. We want to rush the getting to know process because we don't want to invest 4 months, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. of bonding and intimacy and sharing sexual connection and emotional connection, intertwining our lives, to then only find out that this person isn't ready for a commitment or isn't ready to engage in what's meaningful to you. And then we think, well, that's a waste of time. I've just wasted my time. But have you? Have you really wasted your time? If you're present to the experience, if you're opening up your heart, if you're learning something about yourself, if you're meeting someone new, if you're having fucking fun, just fun. That's what life is about, to feel good, to play, to have fun. And life's about a heap of other things as well. But if you're just having fun, is it a waste of time? If you're playing and you're getting to know aspects of yourself that you otherwise wouldn't know because you're with this person. Remember, this person has his or her own individuated signature of their imprint on how they move in life. And they will bring something very specific out of you if you allow it to. If your head and your mind isn't caught up in, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? Should I be saying this? Should I be feeling this? As opposed to allowance and surrender. Surrender to the moment, to presence of what is being unpacked in that moment. But we get so consumed with, if I share myself, I may be rejected or abandoned or humiliated. I mean, that's another thing. Does rejection really exist? Think about this for a moment. We take it personally when we present ourselves, when we present an ideal. For example, let's use politics, right? Because it's a hot topic, and I'm Australian, and Australian in America. America's so it's so intense here with the politics. It's not so much in Australia, so I think I can get away with certain things. But let's just say, I can speak about politics. Let's just say you want to share your views on, well, I'm a stern Republican. Well, first of all, if we're extreme in any ways, I think we need to look at that within ourselves, because extremity is not sustainable in terms of behavior or an ideology, but that's another conversation. But let's say you're a stern Republican, you're scared, like, is this person going to be a Democrat? Are they going to reject my ideals of whatever a Republican stands for, whatever that side or whatever that ideology stands for? How am I going to deal with that? I'm going to be offended. But are they really rejecting you? Like, think about this. Say you're 30 years old or 40 years old and you've just met. They've had 40 years of knowing themselves and being a particular way, having a very specific set of experiences and history and understanding and trauma and interaction with other people in the world well before meeting you. Are they rejecting you, or are they rejecting an ideal that you happen to hold that they've been rejecting or against for 30, 40, 20 years? And if we're not taking things personally, then we're not triggering each other. If we're more open in our approach in relating when we first meet, and we're not so tense, and we're not withdrawing, and we're not contracting, that means that we are more open and we allow the other person to relax so they don't contract. So we're not triggering each other's complementary wounds right off the bat. And we get to grow together and know a little more about each other slower. But we think it's a waste of time. We live in such a fast-paced society. We live in this short-term, quick-fix gratification society. So we need to know everything now. We have to have it figured out now. We have to know if that person's quote-unquote right for us. But that doesn't give us an opportunity to actually work through our stuff. That doesn't give us an opportunity for that person to reflect back to us what could need some healing, or what could need some expansion, or what can be brought out of us to have some fun. I'm going to go back to fun and play for a moment. Getting to know each other, beginning superficially. Superficial isn't bad. Superficial isn't weak. The issue with superficiality in relationships and in intimacy is that we as people remain in the superficial for too long. We become fearful to traverse the depth. That's the issue that we largely face. So superficiality and getting to know each other, it's a necessary stage of relating. It's a necessary part of connecting and getting to know each other. The issue is we stay there too long because, again, fear of being seen, fear of being vulnerable, being rejected, fear of being abandoned, fear of being told we're wrong, fear of being made to feel that we're not enough. Heap of fears, many different fears. And so we withhold ourselves. But then we get to a point where we're not finding full satisfaction in the relationship because we're withholding ourselves. We just keep holding back, holding back, holding back. we're not present to what we really want to express. So then we cultivate resentment. And then all of a sudden, 5, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 5 years have passed, and we're never speaking or communicating or expressing our truth, the real us. Now that is a waste of time. Then you may say, but are you saying then to get that laundry list of those 20 or 30 or 50 most important things to us and give that to the person on the first day? No. I'm asking you to reframe how you look at meeting people. That it's not a waste of time. That fun is an integral part and a necessary part of conscious relating and getting to know each other and expanding one's own sense of sexual self and intimate self and emotional self and spiritual self. Have fun. Take your time. Ask questions. Don't make things mean something that they're not based on your personal unconscious and conscious biases. Just be in the moment of relating. Express when you feel called to. Be in your truth. Be you. It's better that someone, quote unquote, rejects you for who you are than rejects your masks. And then later down the track gets to know that, oh, this isn't the person that I actually wanted to be with or thought that who they were. Be you. And being you requires a lot of courage. It's not easy, actually. It's easy to say. It's not as easy to do. Because being you means removing the masks. And being you means being seen fully. And being seen fully leaves you open. Being vulnerable leaves you open. Open to people criticizing you, rejecting you, not appreciating you, not seeing you. So we have to do that self-work. We have to do that inner work. We have to cultivate and build our confidence and self-worth. How do we do that? In many different ways. Exercise your body. Get an idea of what it means to work through challenges. Work on your past traumas, your inner child wounds, your experiences that you haven't equilibrated yet, that the abandonment that maybe you've experienced as a young person, the abuse that you've experienced. Equilibrate that. Feel, forgive, release. Go through this process. Work with a therapist. Whatever it takes, do your inner work. Be surrounded with people that you trust, respect, and revere, where that's mutual, where you can express and serve each other. Do your inner work in order to build that self-confidence, in order to be the real you in relationships. See, for me, in most of my relationships, I was wearing masks because I didn't know who I was, and I was always scared of that rejection, which was masked with a false sense of bravado, a false sense of confidence. It wasn't authentic confidence. And so I would never really be me. And so the person that I was with wasn't falling in love with me, wasn't caring about me. Well, they were, but it was just aspects and fragments of myself because of the masks. Now that to me is a waste of time. Yeah, of course we learn and grow if we choose to learn and grow, by the way. But that's painful because we're not living in our truth. And in those instances, I wasn't giving the other person an opportunity to really be in their truth either, because they thought they were falling in love or being with someone that was not, that's not really who I was though. And so when you're meeting someone, the superficial's not bad. Asking where they're from and general information, where'd you go to university, you're building safety, you're building trust through familiarity, through understanding the person at a simple level, easy to digest, easy for the nervous system, easy for the brain, easy to make some connections. Oh, I like that, that resonates with me, let me dive into that a little further. But importantly, you're creating safety. Particularly if you've been really hurt in previous relationships or abused in previous relationships, the opportunity you have is to create safety while getting to know each other. So spend some time in the superficial, have some fun, have some play. It doesn't mean you can't have fun and play in the depth, you can. But to get there, you've got to build the foundation as well. So before you can get to 10 feet, you've got to dig the first foot and the second foot. Superficial's okay. And the more you trust yourself and know yourself, and the more you can surrender to the presence of that moment, the easier dating's going to be. And the more fun it's going to be. Power and blessings to you. I'll see you soon.